Hey, it's Andrew here at BTO Range in Conroe, Texas. Here today on the tabletop we have a little Winchester rifle. This is the Winchester Model 70, made in 1965. So it is a post-64 gun, first year of the post-64 guns. And it's a pretty cool little caliber. It's one you don't see that often. This is a 264 Winchester Magnum, 264 Winchester Magnum, made in 1965. So, and the Winchester Model 70 came about in 1936. It was a modernization at the time of the Winchester Model 54 bolt-action rifle. And from 36 on throughout the war years, or around the war years, and then through the 50s and the very early 60s, cost of production and cost of machining was getting so high that the rifle was becoming a little too expensive. And this was not just a Winchester thing, it was an industry-wide thing. Most manufacturers were looking for some way to reduce manufacturing costs so that they could remain competitive at the retail end of things. So Winchester responded by changing a lot of the design features of this rifle for the 1964 year, and without a whole lot of success. I mean, they continued with it, and it had its desired effect of making the rifle less expensive at the retail end, but they took a whole lot of static for it. Even to this day, people really don't recognize the Model 70 unless it's a pre-64, which is weird because a lot of the people that are opinionated on that fact weren't even alive in 1964 to begin with. But anyway, so we're going to talk about this rifle, the design changes, and they're not bad rifles. They're really not. They're not pre-64 rifles. There are some changes in the gun for sure. That doesn't make them any less shootable or any less usable even today. So anyway, the post-64 changes that we want to talk about is primarily the type of feeding system and ejection system in the rifle. So prior to 64, it was a control round feed gun. Let's pull this bolt out. There was a cutout at the bottom of this bolt to allow the rifles to feed straight up onto the bolt face underneath a long claw type extractor. So the biggest change they made action-wise is they went to they did away with the cone breech and the long extractor and extractor nose that you find on the 98 Mauser style action, the pre-64 Winchester action. And they went with a flat breech, much like the Remington 700. So you have a completely round bolt face that encircles that cartridge head, cartridge case head, and you have a extractor in the right bolt lug and a plunger type ejector in the bolt face. So that's a significant change from the pre-64 gun, but it is a change that allowed them to build the rifle without quite as many machining steps when it came to barreling the action and setting headspace and things of that nature. So there's a lot of there's two schools of thought. One is the pro control round feed guys say, gosh, they feed, the gun is in control of the cartridge from the minute it comes up from the magazine until the bolt guides it into the chamber, so you don't have as many misfeeds. Then again, there's never been a control round feed Remington 700 ever, and they don't seem to have much of a problem with it. So you could, and the pre-64 guys, Mauser 98 guys, I love those rifles too. I like those actions, but I don't feel undergunned or somehow less capable with a push feed gun than I do with a control round feed gun typically. So anyway, Ruger 77, Savage 110, Ruger 77, at least until recently, was a push feed gun. So Remington's always been a push feed gun. Savage is a push feed gun. So there are tons of them out there. And the Winchester 70 now, they've gone back to control round feed because computerized machining stations have made a lot of those, what were complicated hand processes, have made them quite a bit easier. So a few other changes. They lengthened that receiver about 1/4 of an inch on the post 64 guns. Didn't result in much of a difference in weight because instead of going with strictly milled from stock steel, they were operating now from forgings, chrome molybdenum steel forgings, as opposed to nickel steel guns, receivers that were being machined from a block. So they kept the same trigger design. It's really one of the best triggers that was ever put in a production rifle, the Model 70 trigger. And it is an adjustable trigger, not like a cassette style trigger that you find in a 700 or any of that. And we'll do a take apart video on the Model 70 coming up in the near future, probably this very gun, in fact. And because this trigger needs to be set lighter than it is now. And we'll do that trigger adjustment on this gun and shoot it. I think I have I'm pretty sure I have 264 Winchester over there. And we'll sight this rifle in to see how well it shoots. Anyway, they left the trigger design pretty much alone. They made the trigger face a little bit wider, kind of help with the trigger feel. They did go from steel to aluminum on the bottom metal. That was always considered to be cheapening the rifle. And another big change is going to be the wood. Instead of the more finely figured walnut with the cut checkering, they went with a more standard grade of walnut, I guess, with this impressed checkering in it. A lot of folks were using impressed checkering in the 60s. Remington was, Winchester did. Just, again, to shorten that manufacturing process and to automate it as much as possible at the time. So another issue is the width of the barrel channel in these stocks. The stocks on these immediate post-64 guns, 64, 65, 66 probably, the barrel channel, they don't fit very well. They're a little wide. They cut the barrel channels wide to accommodate the different contours on some different calibers, so they didn't have to have separate machining steps when they were making the stock. So the end result is on some of these sporter barrels, there's a big gap between the barrel and the inside of the stock. So that was catching on stuff. Debris was getting in there when you were walking through the woods. And people were complaining about it, to the point that a cottage industry, there was always been the industry of restocking and rebedding gun stocks, but that really became a deal with these push feed Model 70s in the mid 60s, even to the point where in 1965, we see Winchester in their catalog start offering barreled actions. You could buy the barreled action without the stock. And Winchester was kind of giving the nod to, yeah, we know the stocks aren't the best, so we'll just sell you the barreled action and you can stock it however you want to stock it. So also, this particular bolt on this early gun, on the locking lugs, there is no anti-bind shelf on here. So it is possible to bind this. When you're running the bolt forward, you can actually twist it and bind it in the action to where it's kind of hard to get the bolt closed. They changed that, and I'm not sure exactly what year they did, but they did add an anti-bind shelf similar to what's on a Remington 700 to make the action run a little bit smoother. So what guns were available in the Model 70 line? You had the Model 70 Standard, which looked a lot like this gun without the recoil pad, and that was that gun retail. We have the catalog pages, or a catalog page that we're going to put up. But the standard Model 70, $150 was the catalog price on it. Available in 225 Winchester, now an obsolete cartridge, 243 Winchester, 270 Winchester, 30-06, and 308. So in the standard 70. Then the Magnum, Model 70 Magnum, which is what this gun is, also had a couple of other model names depending on the caliber. This gun was called the Westerner in the catalog. It was really called the Model 70 Westerner, but it was also referenced as the Westerner, which is a name that kind of crossed from the pre-64 guns into 64 Winchester Magnum. So 264 mag, 300 Win mag, 338 Win mag, and 375 H&H Magnum, which were the Alaskans. And they also introduced it in, or brought it out in 7mm Remington Magnum, which had been introduced by Remington in 1962. So these guns were $165 at full retail in 1965. They did make a Model 70 Deluxe, which did have the higher grade wood. It still had impressed checkering though, had the 4-end tip, the black pistol grip cap. This receiver was polished blued instead of matte blued. Just the entire aesthetics, the mechanics were the same. The aesthetics were kind of pumped up a notch. And it was available in the 225, 243, 270, 30-06, and 300 Win mag, but not 308. And that gun was $275. So it was a considerable, it was a $110 price difference at retail, which in 1965, was quite a bit of money. Now for that same $165, you could get the Model 70 Varmint, which was a heavy barrel gun in 225 Winchester or 243. And then the Model 70 Target, which was 30-06 only, designed for the Palma Target stuff, had a handrail on the stock and that type of stuff. That 70 Target was $200. And then the Model 70 Africa. Now the Model 70 Africa was probably the closest to the pre-64 guns, except it was still a push feed gun, but it had the better walnut checkered, better rear sight, upscale fit and finish. It was only available in 458 Winchester, and it cost $325, which was really at the upper end of the food chain for a bolt-action rifle, really from a U.S. manufacturer at the time. So interestingly enough, there's a little movie tie-in there with that particular rifle, the Model 70 African in 1971. Dirty Harry Callahan in San Francisco, California, just completely went nuts with a Model 70 African at 458, shooting rooftop to rooftop, trying to hit the bad guy, Scorpio, in that movie. Why they chose whoever the gun guy was that was advising that movie, why they chose a 458 Win mag, a little over the top, but anyway, they did. So that interesting little side note, that was a push feed Model 70 Winchester African in 458. So, but let's talk about some more stuff with this rifle. It's a 264 Winchester, so it's 24-inch barrel with open sights. And the open sights are very much a carryover. You really don't see that many guns with the open sights anymore, but the Williams blade is missing off this Williams rear sight. The front sight obviously is still there. But you notice that instead of the lower cone that you would see on the earlier Model 70s and certainly the Model 54, we have the Monte Carlo stock, so we have the raised cheek piece there to put you more in line with the optical sight. Obviously, the Model 70s were factory drilled and tapped from the beginning. Way before 1964 and the changes. So that said, the scope that's on this rifle is a 1990s, early 2000s Nikon, and we'll probably leave that on there just to have the scope on there. We bought it with the rifle, so yeah, it's not broken, so we'll probably leave it on there. But the 264 Win mag is kind of a niche cartridge now. The cartridge itself it debuted in 1958, and the thought process behind it is they wanted a flat shooting caliber that was capable of mule deer and antelope, and they introduced it with the Model 70 Westerner. So the point was that you now had a flat shooting caliber capable of mule deer and antelope in the big, wide open Montana, Wyoming, Colorado area that people would hunt that with. And that 140 grain bullet, it's a 6.5, 264 is 6.5 millimeters. So the 6.5 Creedmoor, 6.5 PRC, all those are 264s as well. So this was one of the, and this is not the first 264 cartridge. There's 6.5 Swiss, 6.5 Mannlicher, 6.5, tons of stuff. It was a really popular bore diameter in Europe before it started coming across in America. And it didn't take long before Remington said we need to jump on the bandwagon. And in '66, the 6.5 Remington Magnum came about. But the 264 Win Mag, big fanfare. It came out Model 70 Westerner, and it probably got just a huge big yawn from the shooting public. A little bit of following, not terribly much. Now, you got to remember this was in '58. And in 1962, Remington comes up with a 7 Remington Magnum, 7mm Remington Magnum, and everybody glommed onto that and never looked back. And that kind of doomed the 264 to not necessarily obscurity, but it was very definitely in not just the back seat, but in the back of the station wagon for quite a while. So it promptly got a reputation as a barrel burner, and yeah, it can be. It's very overbore capacity. It's a full-length belted Magnum case in 264 bullet, bore diameter. So it's very overbore capacity, and it requires a 24-inch barrel to get all the velocity out of it, at least with the powders of the day in 1958, 1965. So it begs the comparison then of, is a 264 Win Mag still even relevant now that we have 6.5 Creedmoor, we have 6.5 PRC, we have even more overbore capacity 6.5 cartridges like 6.5 284 Norma, 6.5 by 300 Weatherby, which is probably the most overbore capacity one out there, and 6.5 Weatherby RPM. So it's the 6.5 caliber, 6.5 or 264 diameter is here to stay, but as one of the older cartridges in that particular bore diameter, is 264 still relevant. So with 264 Win Mag, you're getting pretty close. You're getting right at 270 ballistics, but with greater retained velocity and therefore extended usable range. The ballistic coefficient on the 264 Win Mag bullet is typically higher than the .277 diameter bullets typically available in factory ammunition in the 270 Winchester. So it's the same thing with 6.5 Creedmoor versus 308. You're extending the supersonic range of the cartridge a few hundred yards over that other caliber. So the big comparison, there's two big comparisons: 6.5 Creedmoor versus 264 Winchester Magnum, and then 6.5 PRC versus 264 Winchester Magnum. So this is much faster than the Creedmoor. It's actually about 100 feet per second faster than the PRC. Now, having said that, there are some limitations in the rifle. So the SAAMI specifications for 264 Winchester call for a 1 in 9 barrel twist. And that does okay with 130 and even up to some 140 grain bullets, but it's really going to be long. The twist is going to be slow for bullet weights greater than 140. Typically, you can make that up a little bit with velocity, but then you start really getting some barrel erosion. You're getting more recoil than you need to deal with out of the rifle. So not the best plan. But it really, if you set up a 264 Win Mag right, if you build the gun correctly, you can build the barrel with, or build the rifle with a 1 in 8 twist barrel from a number of different sources, and then with the bullets that are available now, I think the 264 Win Mag is certainly a contender to be an all-around 6.5 cartridge. So that said, the PRC, the 6.5 PRC, those rifles are already out there with an appropriate twist rate for the really heavier, long for caliber bullets with a high ballistic coefficient. So unless you're willing to hand load the gun and build the gun for a specific purpose, the PRC probably takes the place of the 264. That said, if you're shooting 264, and I personally like the cartridge quite a bit, and load for it and build a rifle around the load, you'll never have to look back with it. So anyway, that's the 264 Win Mag. It's kind of an obsolete cartridge. Ammunition is still being available from the major manufacturers, and it's not a dead cartridge by any stretch of the imagination, but it's certainly not one that people think about. And in fact, if you ask younger hunters and younger shooters now, hey, what do you think about the 264 Winchester Magnum? You might get more than a few of them to scratch their heads and wonder what you're talking about. So with this rifle, 1965 gun, post-64 first year, does not have a G in the serial number, below 800,000. So what would a gun like this be worth? So we go back to the three things we always talk about: originality, scarcity, and condition. So originality, this pad is original. It's a Winchester marked pad. The Winchester 70 Magnum came with that pad. That's correct. Original stock, original checkering. The scope obviously is modern. These rings and bases are 90-ish. We're missing the Williams rear sight blade. So that's really the only detriment, is we're missing the Williams rear sight blade. These swivels are issued items. So we're okay for the most part with the originality. The condition, we do have some finish loss from hunting dings and just general use of being out there for, oh gosh, quite a bit, almost 60 years now, definitely. I feel every bit of my 61 years, so I'm sure this rifle does too. On any of these overbore capacity guns, even if this gun was in 300 Magnum or 7 Magnum, you really want to check the bore and throat to make sure that you don't have a ton of erosion there. It's unusual for somebody to shoot one of these enough. The typical person that hunted with it did not shoot 200 rounds out of these guns over the course of their possession of it, but some did. And so not a bad idea to check for that erosion on these guns. So this one's fine, so we're good with that. Now, scarcity, 264 Winchester is on the rarer side or the scarcer side in the calibers on this gun. 30-06, obviously 243, 270, the standard guns you see a lot more of. And I think, I'd have to look, but I think there were more 300 mags and 7 mags than there were 264s, I'm pretty sure. So that said, money can be all over the ballpark on this gun. And I looked today is October 7 of 2025. And I looked at the closed auctions on Gunbroker this morning, and I saw specifically with the 1965 date. So it limited my search options, obviously, to those guns that had that in the title. But there was a 264 Win Mag 1965 gun in a little bit, probably just a little bit better condition with a stock finish, and for some reason that thing had closed actual hammer price of $1,775, which I think is nuts. And it's proof positive that you only need a couple of people that really want a gun for whatever reason, and it can make that auction price go through the roof. Realistically, it's a sub-$1,000 gun. It's an $800 gun all day long. And it should be able to bring that easily in just about whatever venue, whether it's on the rack at a retail gun store or at a gun site like Gunbroker. So that's the Winchester 70 in 264 Win Mag. Personal favorite caliber of mine. And it's not, by the way, these same people that make noise about it being a barrel burner and all that. I mean, Roy Weatherby had the 257 Weatherby mag out way before this gun came out. That was the late 40s, all through the 50s. Weatherby was doing his thing with those big overbore cartridges anyway. But be that as it may. So if you like what we're doing, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, the little bell thing that lets you know when we post new videos. We try to do that a couple times a week. And we're going to be taking this gun apart in another video here pretty soon, adjusting that trigger, going through that, and we'll put it on the range and see if this Nikon scope does it any justice. So thanks, and we'll see you on the next one.